Ever been worried that your relationship was moving a bit too fast? The contestants of The Bachelor certainly have. These are just a few of the controversial issues with ABC's most popular dating show. Much like driving by a horrific accident or watching a bloody hockey scrum, it's difficult to not watch The Bachelor for what it is, an emotional train wreck. Clayton Echard had a difficult time handling procedures with his final 3 contestants after informing them he was in love with each of them. When Susie Evans temporarily took herself out of the running after learning that Clayton had sex with other contestants in the fantasy suites, Clayton devolved into anger, saying, "If you felt this strongly about this, why wouldn't you have told me early on? After everything we went through, after all the feelings, the experiences that we've had, how can you just straight up say, I can't move forward?" The public backlash against Clayton after this long, drawn-out parting was strong.
I would ask for a little bit of grace, not a ton. Again, I took the actions I took, and so I also have to understand that I will be judged for that.
Viewers can debate whether or not Echard had the right to be angry, but he certainly wasn't the only contestant to be exposed to the world in a very raw state. Bachelor Ari Luyendyk Jr. broke up with a contestant he had proposed to, Becca Kufrin. As fans know, Luyendyk changed his mind and chose Lauren Burnham, with whom he is now married and shares 3 children. While this kind of drama is in the show's makeup, what made this particular moment horrifyingly dramatic was the decision to air the breakup live. The segment took up nearly 40 minutes of the episode. Former Bachelorette JoJo Fletcher bluntly tweeted, "Stop filming her." Arguably, Becca had it much worse than Clayton and Susie did. One of the biggest problems with The Bachelor and The Bachelorette is the exaggerated timeline for both shows. In real life, some relationships naturally develop at different rates, and a budding couple may go on a few dates over the course of several weeks. The Bachelor's filming schedule doesn't allow for such luxuries, and it seems this truncated timeline isn't the best for contestants. Add in unrealistic exotic locales used as backdrops for the contestants' dates, and the show has a kind of fake atmosphere that is impossible to match after the cameras stop rolling. Relationship coach Jamie Bronstein told Yahoo Life, "Due to the nature of the show, contestants need to open up sooner than they usually would in real life. At the beginning of a relationship when couples fall in love and during the honeymoon phase, their neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine put them on a high, which is not bad. Still, it prevents them from thinking clearly, so they might be swept up in the moment and think they are falling in love, when in reality, they are falling in love with the idea of being in love versus the actual person. Not to mention the fact that the star of the show might be falling for multiple people at once. A honeymoon phase can be romantic, but experiencing romance on national television could affect the judgment of the contestants and the Bachelor or Bachelorette alike. Yet another criticism facing The Bachelor is the show's strict policy to keep contestants shielded from real life. The producers isolate contestants by removing all access to the outside world. No phones, no computers, no social media. According to The Verge, once prospective contestants are officially cast for a season, they're not allowed any kind of internet access, including the use of cell phones. Leslie Hughes, one of the ladies participating in season 17, told the Daily Beast, "The only things I was allowed to keep were my journal and my Bible. We have nothing. We are completely cut off from the world. We have to talk to each other. We have nothing else to do."
I don't think anyone deserves to ever go through what I went through.
Tiara Lakowski, another contestant from season 17 of The Bachelor, confirmed that the woman couldn't read magazines, but said they learned a lot about one another's different beliefs through religious discussions. Other contestants said they were permitted to have books and occasionally got to watch movies. Though such isolation could allow verbal conversations to blossom among those stuck together, it could have significant psychological effects too. According to Tulane University, social isolation's adverse health consequences range from sleeplessness to reduced immune function. Loneliness is associated with higher anxiety, depression, and suicide rates. Isolation and loneliness are also linked to poor cardiovascular health and cognitive function. The Bachelor franchise has a long history of focusing negatively on contestants' emotional states. In season 24 of The Bachelor, the lack of mental health awareness came to a head when contestants Tammy Lai and Kelsey Weir had an on-camera fight. Lai spoke to then Bachelor Peter Weber and said Kelsey was going through a mental breakdown. Lai also accused her fellow contestant of drinking too much. Weir, who some might call the villain of the season, heard rumors of these complaints from Weber. She confronted her castmates to find the culprit. The saga continued between Tammy and Kelsey, with the former saying of the latter, "She's just an emotional wreck." Allegations were thrown around that a couple of the women said Weir was, quote, popping pills. and the drama overtook any real discussion on mental health. As Health indicated, the wanton use of words like crazy and unstable in the episode only perpetuate an already stigmatized subject. It seems that the show could use more thorough measures for mental health support during filming. However, things may be on the right track. Host Jesse Palmer told Variety in 2022, "On set, we have psychologists always there in the moment talking to the Bachelor and Bachelorette and contestants to keep everyone as mentally healthy as possible. That's a massive priority for the show." According to former contestant Leslie Hughes, the show's producers have been known to ply contestants with drinks. Hughes told the Daily Beast back in 2013, "It's how they get you to be more talkative, more sensitive. When I came in for the producers' weekend, I remember it was like 12 noon, and they were like, 'You want some champagne? Wine?' And I was like, 'It's 12 p.m., noon.' And they're like, 'Welcome to the Bachelor family.'" While fun is fun, liquor was exposed as a major problem on the show in 2017. On Bachelor in Paradise, accusations arose during the filming of Season 4. While these allegations weren't fully defined to the press, a source close to the scene divulged information to Bachelor reporter Amy Kaufman, who tweeted that two of the show's contestants, Corinne Olympios and Demario Jackson, got a bit too drunk. She explained, "Corinne came up to Demario at the bar and kissed him. They proceeded to the pool where they got naked. Per People, Warner Bros. Television, who produces the Bachelor franchise for ABC, suspended the season and investigated the claim, but found no wrongdoing. However, the show's producers did implement a 2-drink-an-hour limit going forward, hopefully to prevent anything like this from ever happening again." One of the show's most valid criticisms is its old double standard. From women being portrayed as vapid sex androids to hysterical, insecure codependents, The Bachelor reeks of traditional sexual hypocrisy. In an interview with Maria Menounos, her co-host asked former Bachelor host Chris Harrison about the sexualization of men on the show. Referring to the men playing strip dodgeball, he asked,
"Would we have done that to the women? No. I'll tell you that right now. No, because it's not okay. Is that a double standard? Yes."
Although Harrison argued that in some cases double standards may be appropriate, where it really rears its ugly head, as he hinted, is during the show's infamous Fantasy Suites Week. In 2014, Season 10's Bachelorette Andy Dorfman was slut-shamed for taking both Nick Viall and Josh Murray to the Fantasy Suite on separate occasions. Writing an opinion essay for The Hollywood Reporter, she recalled the responses to the episode. She wrote, "After that aired, I saw clips of national news anchors on TV calling me a verbatim, on live national television calling me a You never see them say that about The Bachelor. Almost every Bachelor has sex with everyone he goes into the fantasy suites with." The proverbial elephant in the room when it comes to reality shows in general is just how much is real. Amy Kaufman explored the franchise's editing in her 2018 book, Bachelor Nation: Inside the World of America's Favorite Guilty Pleasure. Kaufman learned that editors would frankenbite contestants' words, meaning they'd sometimes splice up what contestants or stars said to create a certain image of them. There are reportedly no formal written scripts for The Bachelor, but it's clear that the show's producers encourage certain storylines, going as far as manipulating contestants to fulfill arcs. Former The Bachelorette contestant Chris Bukowski told Kaufman that the show's producers interrogated him and influenced his confessional interview, saying, "I was saying lines verbatim from producers because I'd been sitting in a stupid room for an hour and just wanted to go." It should surprise no one that The Bachelor tinkers with what contestants would genuinely express. According to a Bachelor in Paradise contract obtained by CNN Money in 2017, a producer has the right to change, add to, take from, edit, translate, reformat, or reprocess in any manner producer may determine in its sole discretion. Another reasonable charge laid against the Bachelor franchise is its long-time lack of representation. For almost 2 decades, all of the leads on The Bachelor were white men. It wasn't until 2021, the show's 25th season, that Matt James became the first Black Bachelor. This step forward was accompanied by a problematic contestant, though. After Rachel Kirkconnell allegedly liked racist photos online, Matt James told ET, "You've got to be very careful about what you're doing on social media." He cautioned onlookers to give Kirkconnell a chance to explain herself, adding, "Rumors are dark and they're nasty and they can ruin people's lives." Images of Kirkconnell attending a plantation-themed ball in 2018 soon surfaced. When interviewed by former Bachelorette Rachel Lindsay for Extra, Harrison defended Kirkconnell, saying he was waiting to hear her statement. After backlash, Harrison retracted his statement, apologized for what he said, and officially stepped down months later.
"I am not a victim here. I made a mistake, and I own that."
Then there's the double-edged sword that is social media. Bachelor Nation openly encourages fans to interact with contestants and personalities via the well-known hashtag #BachelorNation. This makes sense, but there's much more. With the rise of social media, The Bachelor is being seen as a launching pad to a whole new career. Desiree Hartsock, a participant in season 17 of The Bachelor, told Insider, "People aren't there for the right reasons, to put it frankly. It's too obvious you can then become an influencer if that's what you want to do, which is sad." She added that fame can easily compromise relationships. So just how quickly does it take to make that transition from contestant to influencer? Less time than most viewers could probably imagine. According to Refinery29, contestants who survive into week 2 get enough Instagram followers to start making money on Instagram. With so much cash on the table for even the first few contestants not given a rose, it's no wonder getting on these shows isn't necessarily just about finding love anymore. Refinery29 cited figures from a marketing platform, noting that former Bachelorette Caitlin Bristow had a deal with modeling company Revolve that earned the company over $452,100 for just 8 social media posts in 2019. Per another marketing agency, stars with big followings are capable of earning thousands of dollars per upload. Sponsored content is not new, but the overwhelming rise of Bachelor Nation influencers is still a sight to behold.